What's the creepiest thing a child has ever said to you? The man was stood so close behind me at the water slide, I could feel his chest hair on my back. We never went back to that swimming pool. Who's that man coming in here? While looking at an empty doorway. I tell her there is no one coming in, it's just us at home. She insists again, this time pointing. No. Who's that man in the doorway? At the time he was 3 years old, and his brother was less than a year. He was playing with his blocks, suddenly turned to me and said, "It's okay if you and baby dies. Dad and me will be okay." Then he went back to playing. Flushed face. My niece, aged 3 to 4, used to repeatedly talk about her prior life, her prior name, her prior family, and then she would wind up with, "And then my last mommy and my sister, and I got into a car accident, and then I ended up in mommy's tummy." She added details here and there on different retellings, but her main story never wavered. By age 5 she couldn't remember any of it, nor speaking about it. My brother sleepwaked towards me, unwavering smile on his face, his head locked onto me as he slid off the bed and walked around the table. Just this big, ass giant smile. He said he found a way to win at a Roblox game by using the nuke update on every player. Game didn't game this LMAO. Then, smile still on his face, still looking at me, laid back down, and went to sleep. I think the scariest thing was that he just never looked away. He sleepwalks a lot. One Monday my son and I were starting our day, when he said to me, "We have to go pick up brother, his half-brother, who lived with his mom, because brother is sad." I reminded him that we only did that on weekends, but we would do it Friday. He looked at me and said, "We go get brother today." I didn't think much of it until an hour later, when his dad and I were reading the morning newspaper, and I saw his brother's mother's obituary. We picked up brother that day. My dad had suddenly passed away in 2012. He was very close to both of my sons. My youngest was with him a lot while we worked. One night we were sitting in my room, he said, "Do you see him?" I said, "Who?" He said, Pop just walked by." I said, "What's he wearing?" trying to keep it lighthearted. My son said he is wearing Pop clothes. What else would he be wearing? Khaki shorts and a fishing shirt. It freaked me out. He said he was just there to say hi, Red Heart. We've never discussed que si lo aprendía a leer iba a vivir en la calle. You might be my dad. I was babysitting my sisters, and one of them kept staring at the ceiling in the corner of the living room. She had been doing it all night, and I finally cracked due to being weirded out. Me. "Hey, what are we looking at?" My sister. "The lady with the crooked neck. She doesn't like you." And just like that we went to my room until her parents got back. Because WTF. I see dead people. As I was putting my then 4-year-old to sleep, he suddenly giggled and said, "Look at that guy behind you. He's hanging upside down." Took me a few seconds to realize he was actually talking about a Lego minifigure he had been playing with earlier, but the thoughts that went through my mind during those seconds. You can hear them smelling. Emma, Rosie's kid, at age 4 or so. Seen my grandmother, she was already dead 30+ years before Emma was even born. She told my mother, I was there to witness it, about this woman who was smiling in the chair at all of us. When my mother showed Emma a picture of her mother, my grandmother on my mother's side, she actually said, "That's the girl I seen in the chair." She was smiling. How creepy is that? Age 4, seeing something that you can't see. Describing a human that has been dead for 30+. Why? Mommy says you're my real daddy. My little brother was born completely deaf and got cochlear implants as an infant/baby. I was about 6 whenever we'd visit the children's hospital. Apparently, I used to ask my mom who all the people in the elevator were even when no one else was there. I don't remember saying that, but I do remember taking photos of orbs near the hospital windows clear as day. We have the photos somewhere. Please help me. I'm lost, loudly crying face. I had to be responsible and help find her parents. When he was little, my brother used to talk in his sleep a lot. My mom and I sometimes would go listen because he said some seriously funny stuff, and sometimes you could talk to him and he'd answer with some nonsensical gibberish. This one night he started talking and I went to listen. He said something that I didn't quite hear, So I said, "Name. What did you say?" I asked again and then a third time. At that point, 100% still sound asleep. He sat straight up, eyes wide and fixed, staring at me. My roommate's young daughter told me not to look for her dad, because he was sleeping, but she had actually locked the door while he was outside. Putting my son to bed, he was maybe about 3 years old. He says, "I scared the boy in the cupboard." I was a little freaked out, and I was like, "Oh, don't worry, there is no one in the cupboard." And he just repeated that phrase again. It made me feel sick, but I was sure it wasn't anything supernatural. A few days later, when I was in the kitchen running the hot tap, there was a loud humming sound going through the house. My son looks worried and asks me, "What's that noise?" And I said, "Oh, don't." When trying to guess my age, are you old enough to have S**X? Removed by Reddit. My 2.5-year-old and I were laying down for bedtime when she said, "That baby is crying. He wants his mama. His papa's name is Nolan." I couldn't really make out the name, but it sounded like Nolan. Next day, found out from my neighbor the original owner was an elderly man whose name was Roland. When my stepdaughter was 2 or 3, she was standing in front of me drawing on one of those magnetic tablet things that was on my lap. I was taking a video because it was cute, and out of nowhere she stopped, looked up at me, gasped and said, "It's coming," and then giggled in such a creepy way. I was like, "What? What is coming?" And she just giggled and went back to drawing. Still creeps me right out when we watch it. She also used to constantly talk about the family she had before she was B. Know so much what she said, but how she said it. My niece, when she was 3 years old, and when I was visiting my brother and his wife's hoe, started to cry, and I held her since everyone knows I could calm her down since she was always a crier. So she called her dad daddy, she calls me Tio, uncle, and she started to point at the ceiling and say papa. We will come back to this. This is the first time she ever said this, and we did not really think anything of it, but for a few days she kept pointing, and